Okay, we're back with the pumpkins yet again. This time we're going to be doing thrusting testing. So I have 5 different swords. Previously, in a previous video, we graded the swords not just in how deeply they penetrated against my standard target, but also rated them kind of on a tier listing. So between S tier and all the way down to, I think, F tier is what they call it. So I picked up swords between A, B, C, and D, I believe. And I picked 2 swords that were on the top tier, A tier, because they're kind of different representations. So we're going to start at the bottom. We're going to start at the D tier, the worst of the thrusters, and see if it does anything. And I have some little mini pumpkins that are probably a little frozen. It's in the 20s right now, 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And these smaller targets will both allow me to test how well the sword penetrates, or the machete in this case, and also check aim, because part of sword's ability, remember that there's a kind of inverse relationship between how well you can manipulate the tip of the blade and keep the tip where you want it to go. That has to do both with how easy it is to move the tip, the angular momentum. In the sword graphs, the cones that you have, and also the pivot points, so where the blade wants to pivot. So let's start off with the machete, and we'll see what it can do. Will it go in, or will it just push the pumpkin off the stand? Poof. All right, first one did not go. It made a little gouge out of the pumpkin, but it did not go through. And again, remember that for the pumpkin, the hardest part's on the outside, so that's a kind of bony surface that we're trying to get through. I'll try one more time. And I scored it rather deeply. Here, I'll bring it up to the camera so we can see. Got a pretty good gouge out of the side of the pumpkin, but it didn't manage to impale it. I'll try one last time. So I'm being unfair, but I'll give the machete 3 goes at the pumpkin. Nope. That landed straight on and went in exactly that far. That's as deep as we got for the machete. Okay. On to the next sword. Scoring a C in penetration. I have the White Serpent Jun from the Ming Dynasty. Okay, that one went reasonably easily through, but it still pushed off my pumpkin, making it in about, oh, well, the wound is so deep that it passed all the way through. I'll try one more time. It was very easy to aim, much easier to aim than the machete. And as I say that, I miss my target and I hit the post. I'll try one more time. Still pushed it off the target, but went pretty easily through my pumpkin. Yep. So this sword was much easier to aim than the machete. I was able to easier keep the point in line with the target. It's poked it pretty well, but the pumpkin still flew off the stand. So reasonably consistent so far, not scoring as well. Let's move on to the one that scored in the B tier. All right. Switching pumpkins. And I have from the Han Dynasty, the Magnificent Chu Jian. Okay, my pumpkin still fell off, but it easily not only hit the mark, but it went pretty significantly through the pumpkin. I don't know if I can match it to the wound. It looks like it made it about 4 centimeters through based on how messy my sword tip is. Let's see if I can get it to stay right on my tip. Went a little too high. And still poked it off the edge just a bit. But again, that time I went pretty deep, it looks like. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like I went almost halfway through the pumpkin with that strike. So decidedly better than either the other two swords. It still didn't go through so effortlessly as to keep the pumpkin on the stand. I don't know if any of the swords will do that. It's possible that the pumpkins are so light that despite my best thrusts, let me just try a different type of thrust real fast. So apparently, if I just do a little bit more speed, I can skewer the pumpkin with one of these strikes. So yeah, B tier sword, apparently very good at skewering a pumpkin. All right, let's see what the A tier can do. We'll give China a break for a second and move back to the arming sword. So this did get an A tier in my standardized drop testing. And again, it's a very stiff sword, so that helped it go penetrate very deep against a resistive target, but it's slightly heavier than the Jana I'm using. So the question is, will I be able to accelerate it enough to keep the pumpkin in place? Let's see. Oh, missed. Now this one's a little bit harder to control. The pivot points are kind of here in the middle of the blade, so I don't have quite as much point control as the Chinese sword. It went pretty deep, but it did scoot the pumpkin off. I ended up poking it here, and it looks like it went to about there. So that's pretty deep. That's like maybe 10, 11 centimeters of penetration. Matt Easton, are you watching? We're getting lots of penetration today. There we go. So it certainly can impale the pumpkin, and I'll pull it out. And so it made it that far in. Oh, I have some of my hash marks still left on there. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Looks like it made it about 18 centimeters into the pumpkin on just a simple thrust. And we kept the pumpkin from falling off. Huzzah! Victory accomplished. So an A tier thruster, unsurprisingly, did better than a B tier thruster. Let's see if the last Chinese sword can do an even more impressive display. It's a lighter sword. So the last one for today is the LK Chen Flying Phoenix, the one of the diamond cross section gen from the Han Dynasty. And it is, again, an A tier thrusting sword. Oop, missed. First go. So based on the marks over here, it penetrated to a depth of about 12 centimeters. I'll give it another go. Very easy. This is the easiest blade I have to aim, and you can see just has no problem going through the pumpkin each and every time. This time it looks like it made it quite a bit further. I'm having slime go all the way up to this point in the blade. I'll have to watch it in slow motion, but if so, that made it all the way through. Maybe the tip even came out. I'll have to watch on replay. But yeah. Can it cut also? Quite easily. So there we have it. The tier list seemed to work in sterile environment, so there's good efficacy. And now in practice, it seems to be holding up as well. In general, the testing seems to show which swords have an easier time. In general, it seems to show which swords have an easier time penetrating one target over the other target. Oof, these are heavier pumpkins than I gave them credit for. So going forward, I'm going to continue to use it with good confidence. I still think that if we start putting material, armors, or what have you, in front of the blades, then we might see a little bit of a change in the horse race. So some swords that are on top against these soft targets, against these foams or styrofoams, or whatever testing mediums I'm using, may be outperformed by different types of swords if we start putting textile or leather or what have you in front of them. But again, the idea is it's not meant to represent anything. It's just meant to be a level playing field, which everyone can use as a starting place, and then we can make adjustments as necessary. Okay, until next time, everyone. Hope you're having a good and hopefully warmer holiday season than am I. Take care.